What's up, guys? How's it going? I'm going to go over a little bit about line and how to use it, what it is, stuff like that. At least from my understanding and experience in the past with it. Line is basically something that doesn't exist in nature. There is no line in nature. Everything is just kind of soft to the edge. That's just kind of a way we contain the shapes that we see I guess, interpret the shapes that we see on paper without value and shading and stuff like that. So, line in itself is awesome. It's a very distinct look. I'm just going to talk about everything I know about it, and I'll let you guys sort through the info. So this is an introduction to line. So the way I learned about line, and I'm going to be using a pen, by the way. So the way I learned about line is we used to use there's three different kinds of lines. You can kind of designate them in terms of number. There's I've talked about this in other videos, but I'll talk about it here. There's a 1, there's a 2, and there's a 3. And I'm talking about in terms of thickness, you know what I mean? So there's a 1, a 2, and a 3. Generally, we use this throughout line, you know. The thicker the line has to do with how forward it is. Has to do with what comes in front of what. Has to do with emphasis, you know, what is the focal point of your picture. So let's say I'm going to take this box, and let's say I make this backline over here like a number 2, because these are all number 1s right now. Number 2. By the way, here's another thing. When you're drawing in line on paper, turn the paper, really, because your hand's going to go like this, right? I'm right-handed, so when I'm right-handed, I'm naturally going to make an arch like that, right? Left-handed, you kind of pull that way a little bit. So have you ever seen people shade something? You can tell they're right-handed because the lines are all like this way or something. They're all going that way. You can tell if they're right-handed or not, which is fine. But turn the paper because of that. I'm going to turn it where I naturally will turn. I'm not gonna go all like, okay. I mean, you could, but honestly, for me, it's not as easy. You know what I mean? So I'm just gonna go with the natural arch in my hand. That's just something I do. Obviously, it's different on computer. You can just turn it, you know, turn the whole picture, rotate the entire picture. So I'm giving that a thicker line. This is incorrect. You know what I mean? Because this is in front of that. You know what I mean? The way it should be is, since the box is in front of that, we make this line a little bit thicker. Like a number 2. A number 3, I hardly use number 3. I usually use 1 and 2. Number 3 is like for maybe extreme perspectives, but usually 1 and 2, you'll stick around there. Yeah, 3 is really huge. So, like I said, everything, this kind of shows you that it's closer to you, right, than that object. This is closer to you. You're trying to improve the illusion of what's going on already. Let me use this in a figure per se. If you're using this in an arm, let's say you have an arm, right? I'm going to cut their hand off. It's going to be hand over here. Forgive me, it's a crappy arm, but whatever. I'm just kind of showing you what I mean. So this is the deltoid, where it's the top of it. Usually you're going to see some overlapping, right? Because of perspective, this forearm is going to come in front of this bicep, right? Because of that, you want to show that. Let me zoom in. Because of that, you want to show that. So the best way to show that is to put a thicker, as it comes over here, a thicker line, slightly thicker line, because it's coming in front. And there's no direct rule per se on any of this. These are all suggestions. But these suggestions are used by a lot of people, you know, and they do look very well. They look very good. I'm going to say my typical phrase, okay? And you've heard me say this a lot. There are rules and principles, right? I got this from Robert McKee. There are rules and principles. A rule says you have to do it this way. A principle says that this works. This is just one way that it works. You know what I mean? And that's it. This has worked, and it's worked throughout, you know, when people using it. You know what I mean? With the overlapping, I usually have a little bit more of a thickness, and you have to train your eye to find the sensitivity of finding these lines. You know what I mean? I'm finding like, okay, that looks darker than that. That looks darker than that. Some guys do it without even thinking about it. This is just one way to do it, guys. Okay, so don't take this as freaking gospel here. This is just one really good way I've seen illustrators use it, and it does look very nice. It usually it looks nicer. You know what I mean? But everything rules are made to be broken, right? And I also use usually for contours of objects. Like if I draw a character out, sometimes I just like to put the whole contour in number 2. Another thing, when we're talking about line, you talk about styles of line too. You know what I mean? Have you seen animation? And I'm going to talk a little bit about animation lines, especially when we were at drawing cartoons at SeaWorld. You want a tapering line as well. Like let's say you have the eyeball here, right? Let's see, you have the eye. Let me zoom in. You have an eye right there. It's okay. It's nice. It's maybe all like a number 1 or something, right? You want to style it up by thickening and you want to throw styles in these lines to make it cooler looking. Put some style. I would thicken up, go from thick to thin. And you can do this even with this pen. And just keep going over the same line and make it a thick to thin at the very end. Looks a little more feminine though, but you're finding thick over here on the bottom to thin at the top. Thick on the side here, and it slowly tapers down. Do you understand what I mean? So if I was to zoom in on the line, it would do that, like an eyebrow or something. You're giving your line of variation, and you're doing it with this. You have to go over it and over and over again because you're using a pen. If you're using a marker, you could just do that in one shot. See, if you were to really zoom in on it, the line would do something like that or like that. And that gives a style. That one, there are suggestions, and everybody has their own style of doing that. So I don't really have a set, I don't even have a principle for that, to be honest. Use it in places where, I don't know. I'm not really sure how to explain that. I would say just try things out, and you have to experiment. And you're going to create an intuition from that. You're going to be like, okay, that looks nice, or it doesn't, Usually with a bunching up of skin, I notice it's usually darker, like sides of the mouth and things like that. Or where shadows about to hit, because they're still going to, if you have an eyelid, there's still going to be, even though there's no shadows in this, you're going to kind of indicate that a slight shadow. You know what I mean? Hopefully that looks a little bit different to you and you understand that. And like I said, smaller lines are for detail. Anyways, I'm rambling on. Let me... is there anything else? I'm not sure if there's anything else to talk about in terms of line, right now, at least. But practice line, and I'm going to actually do a demo of a figure, and I'll talk a lot about the 1, 2, 3 thing, because the 1, 2, 3 rule is something I use for every line drawing I do. It's very valuable. It makes things pop forward. Like I said, you find the focal points. I almost always... Let's say it's a whole figure. I put darker lines in the eyes because the eyes are usually the focal point. Anyways, guys, that's about it for this, this little thing. Leave me a message. Leave me some comments. Please, 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 please like this page and subscribe if you haven't, guys. I'll talk to you later. Oh, one more thing. One last thing. I'm going to be doing another giveaway when I hit 5,000 subscribers, and that's really soon. So... if you have any ideas, let me know. I'm trying to figure out I'm actually think what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to do an art contest, which I will announce later on. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. I'll see you later.